Hello, everybody. Welcome to Prometheus Live. I am Prometheus the Prophet, and with me today is a YouTuber known as the Wrong Bishop. Hey, Wrong Bishop, how's it going? Why don't you introduce yourself to my audience?
Hey everyone, I'm the Wrong Bishop. I'm basically now an anti-alt-right channel. I started out as an anti-Elon Musk channel, but I guess like most of my videos are now anti-alt-right, and I'm happy to be here.
All right. So tell me something of this drama lately with Baked Alaska. I mean, what's your opinion on it so far?
Well, I gotta tell you that I think, just to preface things, I think Baked Alaska is pretty much a piece of shit. Every single clip I've heard this guy is him just a thin veil of crypto fascism. And when I mean thin veil, I mean very thin, because it's pretty obvious that the guy has some very fascistic tendencies. That being said, I think, I think they're trying to do the same thing that they did to Crowd, in the sense they're trying to like frame him as having a doxing server. And in which case, I think they're being unfair to him. Even Nazis deserve a certain amount of rights.
Okay. Oh, so you think he's not doing or there's no doxing on his server, or what's going on?
I think, from the evidence that I have seen from anything other than he has admitted openly, I think that the evidence is very flimsy at best. I think last I checked, there were some like actually confirmed falsified emails being thrown around to prove this quote unquote doxing server. And this is how things like these get started. They kick you down on something, and then they hope you don't respond back to these allegations. So it's something that I find to be just extremely gross and completely unfair and unjust, even if it's done against someone that I very much dislike, like Baked Alaska.
Oh yeah, but then there was these Discord leaks that came out when he was like talking about how he's going to get their channels taken down, and stuff like that, claiming that they're trying to advocate for his murder.
Well, yeah, like I said, if he admitted to it, then I mean, I can't really say anything about that there. But there's been drawn on some very specific allegations for doxing, and and it's basically the same people that try to throw out these same allegations to Crowd and T. Another person who I don't agree with on everything, but who I believe, not on the same state as Baked Alaska. I agree with him a lot more, and I actually consider him, from the time we have collaborated, at the very least, a friend or friendly. But I think that in a very real sense, they're trying to do the same thing, and it's the very same pattern. If he has admitted to anything, then yeah, he did it probably. But at the same time, they're trying to attribute to him something that's much worse than what he has already admitted to, and that's not something that I am comfortable with, like, presuming.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that, but the thing is, I mean, Andy Worski did say on the Kumite that his whole family was doxxed. So, I mean, I don't know if you think that's him just playing along with the game, or if he actually was like doxxed.
Well, it's kind of weird with these like internet people, because it's not beyond them to just dox someone and then frame it on someone else. They've been trying to do that with what's this guy's name, Destiny. I heard someone was telling me that they doxed Tonka and then like framed it on Destiny, or just like sent him an anonymous email because they knew that Destiny would like throw a fit about it and like laugh about it, and they would blame it on him. So it's not out of the question to presume that, but I can't really say that it's true that he was framed. But at the same time, I don't think that assuming that he doxed Andy Worski is going a bit too far, I think. I mean, that's as far as I know. I might be just missing some bit of context here. But it's just kind of shitty and unfair. I think, and I do want to make this clear, is that I kind of developed this reputation as someone who like throws out accusations, and that's very far from the truth. With JF admitted to everything. With Andy Worski admitted to everything. The only other time where I've actually like engaged in any of these accusations was with the pedophilia accusations against Ryan Falk, and I handled that, like I gave Ryan Falk all the benefit of the doubt. My public statements on the Ryan Falk situation was, and the public statements of the people who I've talked to and who I encouraged to just not make it, was that these allegations are just the word of Ryan Falk against the people who have made the allegations against him. So it's very clear to kind of understand when accusations become like evidence, and how credible these accusations are, and how much credence we as a community, we as the viewing public, have to give those accusations. I think in a very real sense, the accusations against Victor Alaska are I would say untrustworthy. I wouldn't trust them. They're the very same people who had confirmed false accusations in the past. And I wouldn't be surprised if these are also false accusations. But at the same time, I do want to say that it's not impossible that he didn't do any of these things, because I don't want to be wrong if he actually did that. Just I would, and I would suggest an enhanced level of skepticism with these types of, internet drama that they're creating.
Yeah, and I don't think like Baked Alaska personally did the docs, but they're saying that the docs took place on a server, and if it's a fan, a creator cannot exactly be responsible for something a fan of his does, but when you do have to like put the optics on it sometimes. Like if a fan of yours does something wrong and in your name, then you do have a place to stand against it. And
yep.
Yeah, and you were talking about the Ryan Falk thing. And I mean, I saw that tweet of his where he was talking about comparing sex with a black man to being worse than having sex with an animal, because at least with an animal you can't have offspring.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, wow, I cannot believe he actually thought that was a good thing to put on Twitter.
And that's almost the thing, is that they make it way too easy. Like I was planning on doing a second video on Ryan Falk, a follow-up video of him just saying the stupid shit he said, and like proving that he is in fact a Nazi sympathizer, and proving that he is in fact like super racist, even though he claims that he's not racist. Of course he would claim that, but like he basically made my job for me there. I just had to retweet exactly what he said. Like, how can someone not see this in a very stern light and not realize that this motherfucker's racist?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially.
Can I swear here, by the way?
Well, I'm sorry.
Is this can I swear in this channel? I have to forget to ask that.
Oh yeah, the stream should be on Twitter. You want me to give you the link to the channel in the side chat?
Yeah. I was just like, there's certain people that I can't swear, and I have a very bad habit of being like very prone to swearing often. Yeah. So just wanted to confirm that if I go on a profanity laden tirade, I'm not breaking any rules.
Okay, well let me just copy this video link. So
yeah, I actually just retweeted the video link that you have on your channel. So I'm
so you're good on that.
Yeah, perfectly good on that one.
All right. So, I mean, what do you think about the current state of the alt-right? Just judging by all of this that's come out, and where you think it's going?
I'm honestly very optimistic. A lot more optimistic than I was, a month ago. They seem to be a lot stronger. They seem to be holding Andy Worski hostage for some reason, and they seem to basically just taking the world by storm. And now they're kind of just useless. They're all in disarray. They're all fighting each other, and honestly, that's a lot better than what I see. Even Millennial Wolves is, who probably is the biggest cheerleader for this alt-right group, is saying that the alt-right is in disarray and the alt-right is dying. So I would say I wouldn't be surprised if I'm basically out of a wellspring of content by the end of say the year, and I'll have to go back to making anti-Elon Musk videos.
Huh.
But
Oh
you
wow,
know,
so
that's
you're anti-Elon Musk?
oh, I'm very much anti-Elon Musk. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm like what I've been like seeing lately with the alt right. I mean, I was watching some live streams with what's the Mormon woman who's wife with a purpose. Yeah, I just recently saw a stream done by her on the 5th, and what she was going through, she kind of started distancing herself from the label alt right because Richard Spencer's publication altright.com posted an article saying that Easter is a pagan holiday, and of course she's like diehard Christian, so she took offense to that. And then you have a couple of other smaller alt-righters starting to make videos saying they're distancing themselves from the label, and like then I watched just today. I watched the Ralph Retort stream with Alsup versus Fuentes versus Millennial Matt, and the comment section of that video, it was a dumpster fire.
What happened? I didn't.
Oh, well, basically, I mean, I think from the gist I got from the video was that James Alsup, Nick Fuentes, and Millennial Matt used to, I think they ran a company together, but there was some internal disputes, and then they broke off, and all of a sudden, for some reason, there's some legal litigation going on between them, and they were on this live stream just chatting about it, like all the problems. And the chat is just like so dismayed that this is like internal fighting, and they should be fighting the people that want to destroy the white race or whatever. And the chat just seems so demoralized, or the comment section, excuse me. And I think that's why I'm getting optimistic. I mean, with Baked Alaska and his blood sports gone, it's just going to be more centralized on Tonka and Worski Live. And I think Worski has, since he's been going off to do the Purple Dragon stream and only doing blood sports once a week, and then you have Tonka, who's not really catering to the alt-right. I mean, he's just catering to plain old YouTube drama. I do think there is going to be some type of divorce between blood sports and the alt-right, probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think you bring a great point, is that many of these kind of alt-right individuals are going to try to crawl back into the closet. You know, I think not only the people you've mentioned, but I think like Brave and Ruin, probably one of the most like well-known, you know, crypto-fascist that came out of the closet, is now trying to like do the same. He's distancing himself from the alt-right. He's attacking like, you know, certain alt-right beliefs. He's saying that, you know, that fascism is not cool and that he's just a conservative. And oh boy, is it.
Yeah.
It's mad, because there's going to be a lot of people, like especially on our side, that are going to say, oh, that's we should welcome them because they're against the alt-right. But the thing is that, you know, can you really ever trust them at that point? Can you ever really say that Raven Ruin is not a piece of shit after he like basically said that Mein Kampf inspired him? You know, or that he was trying to purposefully lampshade his entire audience into like by dog whistling like alt-right terms.
Yeah, I mean, I was planning on making like a huge video, just pretty much like completely outlining the current collapse of the alt-right. Like one of the things I was definitely going to get into is how you know the YouTuber Tree of Logic?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, she was pretty much chummy with the alt-right until she started defending Israel. And then all of a sudden, the alt-right chat just like really lambasted her, just calling her like every derogatory name you could for someone who's black. And instead of buckling under the pressure, she actually like made a huge expose video similar to her video about Candace Owens, and just completely eviscerated the alt-right. And Richard Spencer and Mike Enoch's only response was to the gist of it, let's talk, which that tells me they are dealing from weakness because they just got hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, Tree of Logic and the alt-right do have a lot of crossover when it comes to an audience. So Tree of Logic now going against them, and she started debating them. And I actually saw her, the one she did against Richard Spencer, and there was one question that I think really really hit it home. She actually asked Richard Spencer, like, if there was like you could choose between like having two next door neighbors, would you choose like Hillary Clinton and Madeleine Albright, or would you go with Thomas Sowell or Larry Elder? And Richard Spencer took the bait and went for the I'd rather have Hillary Clinton and Madeleine Albright as his neighbors.
Dude.
And it was cringeworthy, and I loved it.
Yeah, that's the problem with these people, is that they actually, like, walk themselves into a philosophical corner where they have ascribed all these virtues to the white race.
Yeah.
And so kind of the presumption, just building off of that presumption now becomes almost impossible to have a consistent ideology, because in a supposed ethno state you're going to be kicking out like just the most virtuous and smart black people, but you will also be accepting supposedly the trashiest and most criminally abundant just white trash ever. And that that's gonna, it's very easy to make it into a slogan, but when you actually try to delve into like the actual philosophy, you realize, oh my god, this is complete bullshit. And don't even get me started on the science, which is, from what I understand, I'm not a scientist, I'm not capable of kind of providing it, but it's all bunk that's not generally accepted within the genetics community. So the alt-right has basically created this illusion that they have everything, that they have virtue, that they have science, that they have the legacy of the people who built the supposed empires, the white empires. But the reality is that they have none of it. They're not virtuous. They don't have any basis in like generally accepted science, and they don't, and their ancestors that they so revere would probably hate them and want to cull them from the herd if they actually met them. They are nothing. They have nothing. But some people are able to be fooled by just some fashy haircuts and a semi-eloquent white dude from the suburbs, and now now we have this shit, and I cannot wait till we don't have to deal with this bullshit and we can go back to just making jokes and like talking about YouTube in general.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started making anti-alt-right videos, I mean, my first one, I tried to attribute them to the same cultural Marxism that they've accused the left of doing, which, I mean, I used to be an SJW. I was a big like religious fanatic for the Young Turks. And of course, after the election, I kind of had a sort of understanding that the movement I was a part of was no longer, it wasn't valid to me anymore. It didn't make sense to me. So I kind of started venturing into other people's content. And I found the YouTuber Sargon of Akkad and watched his videos, and it was a slow process, but I finally got out of the SJW movement. But what I see with the alt-right is they seem to be falling into that same trap, because like what we were just talking about earlier is the purity spiraling. They would rather have, like Richard Spencer would rather be surrounded by leftist white people than right-wing black people. And that's just that philosophical trap you were talking about. So that's kind of part of this this cultural, it's like a type of cultural Marxism.
Yeah. And not only that, but it basically just, it has a limit to how many people are willing to buy that shit, and it also has an expiration date, because in a certain sense, they're just leeching off this wider populist movement, which is why I get very angry when people say that, immigration is an alt-right talking point, or that
No,
um, farmers being killed in South Africa is an alt-right talking point, but they're not. They're just basic conservative talking point that the alt-right also happens to talk about, and it kind of that so many people are giving these people the power, that ascribing power to these people, and it sucks, because there's even people that I wouldn't consider alt-right who are doing this, who are buying into this bullshit. That's just, I mean, I love Bunty. I've been a fan of Bunty's for a while, and I think honestly, out of all interviewers on YouTube, he's probably the best fluff interviewer. But some of the shit he says about the alt-right and like calling these people the alt-right and saying that we have to be comfortable around the alt-right is utter fucking bullshit. It's in a real sense. The only time, I mean, everyone in the alt-right has a right to make a YouTube channel, but like saying that for one to fulfill some sort of like I would say libertarian purpose, you also have to platform the alt-right on your own channels. I think that's completely ridiculous. If you want to platform them, then you should also face the social, not the legal, or even I would say the monetary consequences, but the social consequences of breaking bread with the alt-right, unless you are able to properly disclaim your endorsement by providing them with a strong and robust opposition, even if it's not good opposition, saying like, I disagree vehemently with you and I think you're fucking disgusting. That would that if Andy Worski said that on every single interview, that I wouldn't have no problem. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but the fact that he doesn't, the fact that he seems to entertain their ideas at face value, treat them as face value, instead of treating them like the disgusting fucking Nazi drivel that they are, is to me, where the line stands. Like, for instance, I had good, not friendly, but I would say proper conversations with Sinatra Says. I don't agree with the guy at all. I think that the guy is he bends over backwards to maintain this alt-light, persona. But at the same time, I can maintain my cordiality with him while also disclaiming my disagreement with it. But the thing is that you see with these, YouTube skeptics, is that they don't really push back. They feel like they're duty bound to just engage them in a respectful and in honorable debate. Like they were actually debating something like, like philosophical here. Like they weren't actually calling for the deportation and maybe sometimes like actual genocide of minorities. Like they're not antithetical to the entire Western Hemisphere, to everything that we've progressed as the Western Hemisphere, and that to me is something that I noticed, and that's the reason why I even started my channel, because I noticed that there was so much respect, so much unearned respect being thrown against the alt-right that to me it seems to have gone overboard. And I'm not an SJW. I'm a neoconservative. I'm what conservatives call the bad word of conservative, and I say it proudly because I do believe in neoconservative ideals. So it's if they can call me and they can like turn me into a communist socialist, then that they're just talking out of their ass.
Yeah. I mean, but for the Bounty King thing, I mean, I think like I haven't seen the actual clip, so I can't take the full context. But judging by what it sounds like, I think what he was trying to say, just judging by what you told me, it sounds like I think he's trying to say we need to be comfortable with them for discourse, because we can't like push them out. I mean, we can't exactly push them out because that's how they get stronger. They get their echo chambers in their little back channel of the internet, and then next thing you know, they come in like a tidal wave, like they did in the 2016 election, and people will be unprepared to deal with it. And that's kind of what happened. And why I hate the alt-right so much is because back when I was in that SJW movement, that's the people they always told you were gonna come. They were gonna get you. The Nazis, the racists, the sexists, Islamophobes. I mean, well, first of all, I'm an anti-theist, so I'm not a big fan of Islam any more than I'm a fan of Christianity. But the thing is, these social justice warriors were always pointing at people like them and saying, these are the bad guys. And when I look at that, I see, like, okay, so if these guys do end up, getting power, I mean, the social justice warriors complain about white privilege. The alt-right wants white privilege. They want to make the nightmare of the SJWs a reality. And all the people in the center are going to have to realize that that is going to be a problem. You cannot allow a movement to prove the SJWs right, because then the SJWs will get the power again. And I don't want that.
I agree completely with you on that one. But it almost feels like it's a binary choice for many of these skeptics who are quote unquote neutral parties within the alt-right. It's either go and call them to be removed off of YouTube and oppress them to the point that they're out, or just treating them like just any other and like lending them your platform for them to spread their ideals. Mm-hmm. I think both of those case scenarios are awful. I don't think anyone should feel compelled to treat the alt-right. Any normal person should feel compelled to treat the alt-right as just rational entities within the public space. I don't think anyone should feel compelled to do so, and that almost feels like that's what many of these rational skeptics are doing. They are engaging the alt-right at face value when, to be honest, my opinion is that they should just be not stop doing anything, just do whatever you want. But if you're going to engage them, you're going to engage them to laugh at them and to tell them how awful they are, and to tell how awful their ideas are. This you don't have a right to respect. You have a right to speech. You have a right to free speech, but you cannot compel someone to give you your due respect within any forum. And that's what I feel like, and I might be wrong, and I might be misquoting Bunty, and I apologize if I am on this one, but that's what it feels like many of and not just Bunty, but many are doing within the community there. They feel compelled to respect the alt-right, and I find the idea to be laughable.
Well, yeah, but like I said, I think this whole compelled to respect the alt-right thing comes from the fact that they were dealing with the left, who was constantly trying to get people to platformed just because they were saying something they didn't agree with. And I think the so-called rational skeptics, as you like to claim, were they were put in a box saying we must now include them in our discussions in order to prove we're not them, the social justice warriors, or we completely go into the SJW camp and be complete hypocrites. That's where I think it's coming from.
I think I can understand it. I can understand it. I can see where they're coming from, in the sense that, like you said, they don't want to come off as hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
But acknowledging nuance is something that's very important. It's, I think, the truest sign of ideological maturity is being able to acknowledge when you have to be selective in your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And in a real sense, you do have to be selective in your thinking. You do have to kind of engage in some sort of intellectual selectivity, and say that I can laugh at these stuff and I cannot laugh at these specific ideas. But applying them on a wholesale value is, I think, just as dangerous and just as mistrustful of one's own judgment. We can all, enforce our liberal values across the board. Like I said, we can all, say that we can all agree that every alt-right person should have a YouTube channel if they so want. We can all say that every alt-right person should be able to have a voice, should not be able to be silenced by either the government. And I would even go ahead and say that by either, large corporations, large corporations that we depend on. I'm in complete agreement with that. I think that I'm even more liberal, using the classical sense of the word, than our own government on this one, because there's no, a corporation is not compelled to enforce these values right now. But I think that they in certain situations should be compelled to be neutral, to be ideologically neutral. But at the same time, I think that's all fine and dandy. But it's a completely different situation to engage as a person, to engage them, to treat them in the same way that you would expect a government or a corporation. I think it's a sign. I understand where they're coming from, but I think that they're one wrong, and I think that it's actually ideologically immature to see things that way. To see things, it's ultimately just black and white thinking, and I'm not completely sold on it.
Yeah, and well, it's like I'm saying, like if you can debunk their ideas just flat out, then I don't see why you can't just like bring them on just to debunk their ideas. If they make a claim and you debunk it, then that's bad for them. But if you don't have them on your program and they get to keep spewing those ideas, then their little crowd in the back corner of the internet will keep thinking they're right. And so, of course, like what I used to like to say is I will defend my opponent's right to free speech. That's pretty much a mantra of mine. I'm pretty sure people have already said that before, but it just rings so true for me. And like when it comes to like this science of the alt-right, for example, like this whole eugenics or whatever it is, I think that people can study and talk about these topics, but I just don't want to see it go into political policy. So I think like the science of race realism could be discussed without having to believe someone is a Nazi for it. I mean, the thing is, like, people can bring up the whole IQ disparity, like the Asians, whites, and all the way down the racial, the chart. But the thing is, though, when you individualize those numbers, then it becomes like debunking the wage gap. See, when I was listening to Sargon, he was talking about this whole IQ disparity thing. Yeah, that kind of put me in that camp. But I watch people like One Species, who I've recently talked to, and now the thing is muddy again. It's now, I was like more of a race realist, like say 2 weeks ago, but now that I've seen One Species videos, it's kind of up in the air for me. But the thing is, I would love to have that discourse. I want to have this discussion. I don't think any topic should be barred, and I don't think like, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. And to be honest, I think that, yeah, I don't see a problem with race realism being discussed necessarily. I don't think discussing race realism and believing race realism makes you necessarily a Nazi. The problem is that, when you're discussing race realism and your username is, Heil Hitler 1488, it's perfectly fine for me to presume that you're discussing race realism with an agenda, and for me to take your bias into consideration when I listen to your idea, the ideas is completely fine. A lot of people, the messenger being tainted is is a perfectly fine argument if you're not an academic. If you're just a viewer and you say, oh, like if you're just a viewer and you're trying to define whether you trust this person or not, understanding their biases is I think imperative to properly forming an opinion on the matter.
Yeah. And but like I said, I think like one of the big things we can do to, to in some way take down the alt-right is if you do take their talking points, but actually, or take what they say, and if they bring in a scientific discussion, whatever, we include that in our little communities, and we begin just discussing the merits of it and all the data, so on and so forth. And I think you take away the controversial power that it has, and that's a very key attraction tool for the alt-right. So if you if you start actually discussing talking points in all communities, then yeah, they have no power.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely, to a certain extent. But at the same time, you also see people like the not so great videos that crowd made on science.
Yeah.
And then and if you engage on those, that can you say that it probably brought a couple people to the alt-right?
Yeah.
Which is like I said, it's completely understandable given that Crowd is not a scientist, and he was trying to like understand this from a non-scientist perspective. But at the same time, you gotta be really prepared when you want to do.
And he was talking to other academics, right?
Yeah. And it's you gotta be really prepared when you're engaging these people. And I will say that I'm not. I'm not prepared, even though I do read a lot on the subject. I would never even dare to like. Even though I know, I'm 99% certain that, this whole race realism shit is bullshit. I still wouldn't engage the alt-right on a debate regarding race realism because of the simple fact is that I'm not a scientist. I don't have the full context. I can, inform my decision as an individual, but for me to properly guide someone else, which is basically what you're trying to do in a debate. You're trying to guide, the audience as much as you're trying to guide the person who you're opposing in the debate. You do need to have a certain degree of preparation that I believe I do not have.
Yeah, I mean, but basically in a debate, what you're trying to do is you're not trying to win over your opponent's side. You're trying to win the middle ground. You're trying to win the middle ground of people that want that, they don't have a dog in the fight. I mean, and you did mention the Kraut and T videos. When Kraut and T made those videos, and I was watching, like, a lot of people debunk them, and even with simple Google searches, and that kind of pushed me into the camp of race realism. But the thing is, I do not want to use race realism to create any form of policy, because I think that is just a loser policy. But then one species comes along again, and now I'm sort of in the gray area again.
Yeah. So for me, it has never really been a question because I'm a lawyer, and something that we do is called voir dire when you're trying to figure out if an expert is better, which expert witness, the battle of the expert witness. And the thing is that one of the most important factor, probably the most important in my opinion, is whether this expert, the standards and procedures that this expert is using are generally accepted within their given community. And the only thing I needed for me to believe that race realism is bullshit was to ask, okay, what do most geneticists believe in this subject matter? Oh, they don't agree with race realism. Okay, that's fine. Then I don't agree with race realism. As a layman, I think that should be the first question every layman should ask themselves is, why do the experts disagree with this person? You can be persuaded against it, but you need to ask that question and be provided with a very good answer. And the answer that the people on the alt-right were providing was that there was a conspiracy of silence, that the scientists working on these geneticists are all, you know, trying to stay quiet because they all support this social justice agenda, or they're motivated by money. And you go ahead and ask yourself this, and like when you put it, when you contextualize this, it's basically a conspiracy theory. And I'm not a believer in conspiracy theories. So at the end of the day, and I do respect a lot of people that are in race realism, but to be a race realist right now, you need to at the very least acknowledge the fact that there is conspiracy.
Hmm. Yeah, like one of the things that still like would probably, if that probably still keeps me, like would still latch me into the race realist is the fact of the like the IQ disparity, for example, and then you actually look at the IQ charts like of the countries and the world map, and you do find that countries that do have a dry and more humid uh, atmosphere, like Northern Africa, are they're generally lower in IQ, whereas the colder climates are like around the north and the south and all that. They're higher on the IQ scale. That's something I actually noticed, and it's because I actually had I'm going to be doing a video on discussing these findings, but you know, I was hoping to talk to one species before I go through with it. So
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm not particularly um well equipped to discuss any of this, but if I were to guess on why these countries, I would say like countries such as, you know, Argentina and Chile, which are in the warmer climates, and even, you know,
mm-hmm.
Brazil, which are in the warmer climates, they do have, you know, generally higher IQs. And I would also say that, you know, it's not the most reliable, since there are many, you know, IQ rankings vary wildly throughout the
Yeah.
years and throughout the ages. So, for instance, you know, countries that used to be poor, like very poor in the Eastern Bloc, like Poland, you know, they as they become more civilized and more, you know, westernized, they see a sharp increase in IQ. This is something maybe not as part of a country, but you know, because there weren't like substantial countrywide assessments. But you know, in regards to racial IQ, the Jews used to be one of the lowest average IQs historically speaking, and it's, you know, relatively recent where they've become, you know, the highest.
Yeah.
So there's certainly, you know, a certain degree of population dynamics, sure, but for it to relate back to race, I think you require a lot more than country data.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I was trying to do, like, because like as an anti-theist, I was going to start using the whole like looking at race realism and atheism. And strangely enough, there is like the majority of atheists in the world are from Asian countries, and the second most are white countries, and and again, it goes down the same ladder that the standard IQ or the IQ disparity takes. And the thing is, hold on a second, I was thinking of something. Um, oh yeah, but in America, for example, like the majority of atheists in the country, when their total percentage of atheists in the country are like 78% white. So it looks like there is some sort of racial connection with atheism, because there is a connection between atheism and intelligence. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look at that connection. I'm probably going to be doing a video on it soon.
Yeah, It's interesting. I I have a most of my friends are atheists, even though I'm technically not one, and it's something that I do have a lot of respect for. I never understood this the stigma against atheism that a lot of Catholics have.
Yeah, they think they like to attribute it to a sort of lack of morality. Like if you don't have God in your life, then you are immoral. If you don't follow the teachings, then how do you conduct your life as an honorable person? You know, crap like that.
Yeah, yeah. Even as a Catholic myself, I would never even dare to say that there's no such thing as secular morality. I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think all morality has to be secular, and even for those that believe, and if it's due to their secular morality that they're able to kind of, engage in the religious morality. It's a big plus, that religious morality, not some sort of, morality doesn't exist unless you believe in God. I think that's for the most part, just very nearsighted and very
Yeah.
unintended.
Yeah, I mean, from like we atheists like to argue that morality is subjective, and we like to bring out the stats that the majority of or when it comes to the prison population, the atheists are heavily underrepresented when it comes to the prison population. So when people like to say that we're immoral, I like to throw that statistic in their face. So, but
Yeah,
that's just what we do.
because I do think in a certain sense that, and it's something that through my travels I've noticed is that uh, and atheists are usually um, smarter and better
Yeah.
off, just because, in a certain sense it's a lot easier to find yourself in faith if you're having a really hard time. It's a lot easier to kind of, fall into faith like that. And you see that a lot in cults, that they actually like try and like try to search for people who are on having very tough time, or having like socially or or
Yeah.
or physically or monetarily having a really hard time, and they help them, and that's how they get them inside a cult. I think it's a lot harder for you to have faith in the unknown if you have, a substantial amount of faith in yourselves. Even though I don't personally share it, I can at the very least acknowledge the fact that it's a lot harder for say for my children, for me to like raise my children Christian, just because they won't have that need of depending upon, a potentially non-existent entity.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, like right now, like what I do in my videos is I'm starting to target this little thing called cultural Christianity, which is one of the things that the alt right, the new right, it's one of these things that unites the entire right that people dislike. I mean, the alt right especially does this. I mean, people like James Alsop and Nick Fuentes. These are, well, Nick Fuentes is actually a Catholic, but James Alsop, for example, he's an atheist, but he believes that we are better off in a Christian society. I mean, Coach Red Pill is also on this in this camp too.
Ah, Jesus.
Yeah, and and this deeply, it's just like how when the left wing or the social justice community split from the atheists and became like atheism plus. I feel like that's the same thing that is happening right now. They're becoming like what I call the atheism minus movement, but I also refer to them as cultural Christians. But the thing is, they're atheists that want to push Christian belief, Christian dogma back into society, even though we are a secular country. And
Yeah. I mean, Nick Fuentes is probably the biggest fucking hypocrite in the history of the world. Just by pure virtue that Catholicism means universal. It literally means accepting of everybody. And him being an alt-right trying to do the opposite. I've always considered the alt-right to be more or less Protestant, ideals. A Catholic, a natural true Catholic would never, you know, imagine themselves as being part of some sort of, you know, racially substantially, policy-wise race group.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, the alt-right also has like other religions, like even the pagans. Like I told you about wife with a purpose, who
Yeah.
she kind of left the alt-right after Richard Spencer put up an article saying that Easter was a pagan holiday. And you have the Golden One, who's still one of those people that worships Thor and Odin. Now, yeah, so you got the pagan branch, you got the Protestant branch, you got the Catholic branch, and I think there's an atheist branch. But the atheist branch does not want to push atheism, which, I mean, pisses me and a few other of my fellow anti-theists off really, really bad.
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those things that why would you want to push the religion of a brown, Semite to be at the forefront of your white supremacist movement?
Yeah, I mean, they think, because some of them, like even JF, they say that I think it's because now I don't know if this is attributed to him, but it's attributed to someone. But they said that religion makes an excellent tool for control, for hegemony, and I think that's the main reason they're pushing it, because they want to be able to control the population into what they believe, and I think they're using religion to do it. Yeah,
it's religion is a double-sided sword. I don't think we would be here. Our society would be here without religion, in a very certain sense that it's a lot easier to kind of not fall into anarchy, into complete societal anarchy, the first famine you have in the early days of humanity, if they somehow believe that they would be worse off by just killing their lord and stealing everything from them than not killing their lord and stealing everything from them. And in that very certain sense, I think from a practical standpoint, from like I guess the atheist within me, I can see like there at least was a value to religion in the past, but in a certain sense, they are trying to harness this religion to control people, and it has been used a lot, and it's still being used today, mainly through the radical Islamic sorts and even like the radical Christian sorts. But it's something that you have to be very careful and need to compartmentalize. Need to have a proper separation of church and state. Not only within a government, but also within a person itself. Understanding what jurisdiction, which part of yourself, which part of yourself is under full jurisdiction of religion and not is one of the most important things. And the problem is that, and I'm not trying to knock any Protestant beliefs, but this separation, this jurisdictional kind of sense between like the self that is religious and the self that is like a secular citizen is something that's very core to my Jesuit Catholic education, and it's something that's actually antithetical to many of these evangelical Christian groups. And that concerns me. It's something I'm not American, and it's one of the biggest culture shocks is knowing that how dogmatic Americans are, evangelical Americans are in their religion, in their pursuit of religion.
Yeah, they were extremely dogmatic back then. That's kind of what like brought rise to the atheist community, because we were just tired of their shit. And Well, and thanks to the beginnings of YouTube, we actually managed to beat them back. And now, guess what? They've completely fallen in line with a thrice married, thrice married guy who's now had sex, known to have sex with a porn star, and all the crap that that's been out about Donald Trump. But the thing is, they have no choice. He's the only thing they have to get what they want, and they want that religious dogmatic control back. And the thing is, like, when you actually look at like ancient history, like the ancient Greeks, for example, like a lot of the philosophers back then, they were to the equivalent of atheists, and their teachings what kind of brought about the Western culture. I mean, I think I'm looking more into this, but I know Plato and Aristotle, they kind of framed the original concept of the whole God relationship with humanity kind of thing. I forget what they called him, or they called that, but then there was like another school of Greek philosopher called his name was Epicurus, and he is the guy that inspired Thomas Jefferson and John Locke to pursue his vision for what the Western culture should be. And yeah, but the thing is, the alt-right, I think they only want to use religion just for the sake of control. I really think that, like, especially with this Thoughtgate that's happening right now, I sent you a video about that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this Thoughtgate kind of reminds me of how like the radical Islamists act with women. You have people like Fuentes, people like all these other alt-righters saying that no women should be like sexy or sultry when advertising them. So that's just exactly like radical Islamic terrorists.
Yeah, it's the white Sharia. That's what they want to bring in. It's just jihadists, and the parallels don't really stop there if you think about it. Recently the mosque shooter, the Quebec mosque shooter was shown to have a lot of I think specifically not only conservative kind of like commentators like Ben Shapiro, but also a lot of alt-right commentators, and you start kind of drawing lines between, remember those radical Islamic preachers. I remember the name of one, Ansim Chowdhury in the UK, who didn't exactly preach for like actual jihad, but like said, this jihad thing is looking pretty good, and that's how they kind of were able to recruit many young British jihadists through this supposed, not technically hate speech, not technically incitement to violence, but might as well have been. And that's what I see in a lot of, alt-right speakers now when they talk about this supposed race war and this supposed inevitable, balkanization of the United States. It's very easy for a mentally unstable teenager or young person to kind of look at this and say, hey, maybe I should just surrender my life to bringing forth the race war and allowing us to fight against the hordes of minorities, and that's what I'm seeing a lot of in the United States. I think that and I spoke out against these Islamic hate preachers when they cropped up, and I will speak against these type of hate preachers now. Maybe they're not spouting hate speech in the legal sense of the word, but they are inspiring a whole new breed of radicalized believers, and that's something that should be, that they should be at the very least mindful of. Maybe not stop them, but that they know that they have, in a certain sense, blood in their hands for the actions caused by the people they inspired is I think important.
Yeah, I mean, Charlottesville was a complete disaster for the alt-right, especially with James Alex Fields. and he drove a car into peaceful protesters, and the fact is, it was the exact same way that radical Muslim terrorists do in Europe.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I do not understand how they could not how could they think that was a good idea, because there were Discord chats about using vehicular or vehicles as weapons.
Yep.
And yeah, not to mention the one that came out. The other one from that Discord server leak about the ethno rape gangs for
It's
what?
it's insane.
Yeah, and I'm like, how do you not think you're sounding like radical Muslims right now?
Wait, you said rape gangs? They've actually
they were talking in one of the Discord servers. They were talking about ethno rape gangs. This was, I think, from the Patriot Front. It was
What?
It was all over Twitter that one day.
Jesus, these.
Yeah, I think I have it on my Twitter somewhere. I'll find it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here. Ethno-state rape gangs.
Yeah, it was from the Patriot Front, and they were talking about, that even children as young as 14 could be victimized by these ethno rape gangs in favor of to restore the United States. And these are what these people are talking about in private. Okay, that is just another thing that scares me. I mean, I can actually I'll probably retweet.
Yeah, I just found the tweet about it. I just found the leak from Unicorn Riot.
Yeah, that's the group. I mean, I'm subscribed to them, and that's. Yeah, I haven't seen much from their leaks lately. But yeah, that one was just huge to me.
Wow. This is worse than I imagined, to be honest.
Oh, I know, and I'm going to be including that in my video. So I hope that it does become like a real hard-hitting expose on them.
Yeah, I'll definitely tune in for that one.
Yeah, I'll probably send it to you for a fact check. So like you and your if you have friends that are more tuned in to what the alt-right are all about, I'd love to send it to you so I can get some fact checks.
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Yeah,
I'm definitely up for it.
Yeah, but definitely like right now, also with like how the alt-right are just starting to piss off all of their allies. Like I said, Tree of Logic's pissed off now. Sargon of Akkad is pissed off now. I mean, well, Sargon wasn't allies with them, but Richard Spencer sent out a tweet saying that Sargon, Lauren Southern, all these and some other YouTubers, they were useful because it led people to them. But Lauren Southern is pretty much ostracized for the fact that she would say that she slept with a black man and didn't care. So the alt-right just gets pissed off at that. And of course, Sargon, they keep shitting on. Tree of Logic. I think the only one left that I don't think they've shat on yet is No Bullshit.
Yeah, but No Bullshit is, I mean, oof, that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not an alt-righter, but, you can just tell that he is willing to because he always says that Richard Spencer watches his videos. So that's kind of.
Wasn't that the guy that was saying some shit like, talking about Jewish conspiracies or something like that?
Oh, Jewish conspiracy. I mean, which one? Because there's there's like millions of them that they keep putting out.
Yeah. That's kind of how I see it with No Bullshit. I haven't listened to much of the guy's content, but I gotta tell you that he doesn't seem like the brightest guy to me.
Yeah, I know. I don't listen to much of him either, but you can just tell that he's trying to tailor that. I think he likes being that so-called gateway, you know,
Yeah.
and but yeah, like I said, the alt-right is just starting to piss off everyone between them and the rest of the people. So it's now making it more difficult to get people into the alt-right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and I
And
do think blood sports will be next somehow because I know Tonka and Failure are not alt-right. I don't think they want to be. And Andy Worski, nah, I don't know. I mean, Andy Worski's a bit of a wild card to me. I mean, I like because he looks like a guy that he's someone on stream, but he's a completely different person off stream. Like he could probably be the nicest guy in the world off stream, but on stream he has to play a persona. I think that's basically what Andy Worski is.
yeah, I mean the thing about Tonka and Failure is that they might not be all right, but I can draw reasonable conclusions from their, willingness to tolerate the alt right. And I wouldn't dare to call them alt right or even racist, but I would say that it's certainly, their way of engaging the alt right in a friendly fashion is something that I don't agree with.
Yeah, but I mean, let's remember there is the whole concept of Patreon, super chats. There's actual money to be made with the so-called rising culture. Alt right is what's in right now, so a lot of people are going to be tuning in to seeing alt righters fight leftists or even each other. I mean, they're now wanting to fight each other at this point.
I will say this: I think that they are motivated by money, and in a certain way, it's gonna be tough for me to say this in public, but I can respect how obviously self-interest they are. As I can at the very least appreciate that I know for a fact that they probably aren't doing this out of some sort of misguided sense of duty, unlike certain people in the actual alt-right proper. They're just doing it because it's profitable for them, and in a very certain sense making money off of the alt-right and allowing them to part from taking their money is at the very least something that I won't knock. I won't do it, but I won't knock it either.
Yeah, I mean, I have no direct problem with blood sports. I mean, it's to me it's Jerry Springer. So I mean, if it's entertainment, yeah, then fine, have fun. But if there are people that are anti-blood sports, and if someone asked me how would you take down blood sports if you could, not that I would want to, but I'd say the best thing you can do is to parody it. You parody it enough times, eventually the parody becomes better than the original, and then guess what? There becomes a shift.
Yeah, although I do think that certain people are trying to use this blood sport thing as a cover. Like Baked Alaska was the most prominent one. That he was trying to, like, even though like many times he's been about himself as an alt-righter and as an overt racist, that he still kind of said, I'm not racist, I'm just for the blood sports. I think you could make an argument that Medicare is kind of like that too. I think Medicare, I would say, this idea that Medicare is a neutral observer is complete bunk. I think he has an agenda. He's trying to push his agenda. And at the very least, I think he agrees with the alt-right in certain senses. It's pretty obvious that he, from the whole Baked Alaska thing, that Medicare was completely fine with Baked Alaska, saying the 14 words associated with Baked Alaska when Baked Alaska was, doubting the Holocaust, saying the 14 words, saying that the Jews will not replace us, saying, that these people are low IQ. But the moment that the Mr. America chooses to take issue with Baked Alaska, it's also the moment that Baked Alaska grows a certain kind of, you know, at the very least, monetarily inspired conscience and decides to ban people who are saying like kill our niggas and kill our Jews. Is to me at the very least suspect. Like I don't think anyone should ever consider Medicare as a neutral observer. I think people should see Medicare for what he is. You know, he has an agenda. He might be entertaining. He might be, you know, someone that's funny to talk about, and someone who might be fun to watch his videos. But he definitely has an agenda, and his agenda is anti alt right. He has an agenda, and it is keeping the alt right around. Maybe you could make the case that he's not alt right himself, but at the very least, he has a vested interest, and he's shown that he has a vested interest in maintaining the alt right and maintaining the integrity of these alt right figures and the ability of people to be able to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, but the thing, I think Medicare is just a chaos agent. He just likes to to watch dumpster fires. He likes to see a dumpster fire play out, maybe even influence a situation where a dumpster fire begins occurring. Like when we were talking about the Warski JF possible breakup, Medicare was kind of antagonizing Andy or pushing him to say, "Are you going to fire JF? Are you going to fire JF?" Like, like, come on, give me the chaos. And I think, yeah, but then Cow or whatever that they then started turning against Medicare, and I think he flipped.
Yeah, in a sense, Medicare seems to be, you know, just I can't, like, it's not even for the money. He's not even doing it for the money, or even chaos, as you just seem to be saying, because he had a lot of chances of creating chaos that he didn't specifically take because he doesn't want to attack the alt-right. He doesn't punch right for some reason.
Yeah, because I think right now the alt-right still has that cultural relevance to that community. But I think once that begins to change, I think you'll see Medicare go in a different direction, because I don't think he wants to be a part of a sinking ship. He's a wild card. And then there was this chat he had with Coach Red Pill, and they were talking economics. And to be honest, both Coach Red Pill and Medicare seem kind of reasonable on economics, at least to me as a left winger. And that I found quite interesting. So I don't know. I can't pinpoint where Medicare is, but I do know that Medicare did say that he probably would not be an ethno-nationalist. Because I don't know who pressed him on it, but someone pressed him on that question, and they asked him, "Well, do you think you would be an ethno-nationalist?" And he goes, "Probably not." So
that's kind of the thing. It's that I tried making a video on Medicare, and I tried like going through research, and his ideas, his political ideas, every single stream it changes completely. On one stream, he's like literally just kind of talking about the Jewish question. On the other one, he's like taking a libertarian stance. On the other one, he's all over the place. And I don't know if it's intentional, probably intentional, but at the same time, like what am I supposed to like garner is his actual, you know, political stance.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think he's a chaos agent. I think he likes to keep people guessing. He doesn't want people to pin him down or be able to identify what he is. So I think he keeps up this ruse.
That's what it is. It's a ruse.
Yeah, and to some extent, I think, you know, that's kind of like. You know, I wish I can. I need to explain this, because I'm thinking of this like old tarot cards. In tarot cards, there's this card called the Fool. When you put the Fool like right side up, it's a person who can have access anywhere. He can have access anywhere in the kingdom, because he's the king's. He's personally responsible for making everybody laugh, so he can go anywhere he wants. And I think that's kind of what Medicare is, if I were to use that analogy. He's a type of guy that you can give the keys to the entire castle, and he'll he can be anywhere. He can go anywhere he pleases, and I think that's how he functions.
Yep. I have no choice but to agree on that one. It's I'm not going to, prescribe any motives to him than what he has made obvious.
Yeah. I mean, that's just by my own observation. I'm not going to say that that's true or not. That's just what I'm seeing. People are willing to allow him in their communities. Even he'll go into any stream. I mean, he's even said it himself on Baked Alaska's stream. He'll go on to streams that have only 2 subscribers. I don't think he really has, like, that I don't really think he has that kind of an agenda. He'll just go anywhere he wants.
Yeah. Although in a sense, I think he's changed for a bit. I think his reaction to the Baked Alaska drama was a lot more visceral and a lot more angry.
Yeah.
He seems to be not having fun. He seems to be doing this out of some sort of sense of self-righteousness almost that seems kind of worrying, because it's
I mean I think, because even though he won't say it, I think there was a part of him that actually cared about Baked Alaska or saw him as a sort of friend. But now to see him completely turn his back on his audience, and that's what I think. I think Baked Alaska was just someone who jumped on a different gravy train when it became convenient. I mean, he worked for BuzzFeed, then he left that ship, and he jumped on the alt-right. And now he meets Aaron, tries to jump off the alt-right and try to be normal. But that's kind of telling, because if that kind of tells me that there is starting to be a little bit of ship sinking in the alt-right, because there's no other reason he would try to do that, unless, this girl Erin he really had an interest in Erin.
Mm-hmm. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna, in about 30 minutes. I gotta go.
Oh, in 30 minutes?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So then we'll just have a little bit more of a conversation, then we'll wrap up. But I was also wanting to talk about, because I was also looking at Richard Spencer's video. He did like sort of a state of the alt-right video, and he was kind of mirroring what Millennial Woes was saying, that there is a sort of stall in the alt-right's push for, because what happened with Charlottesville really set them back. And Richard Spencer, I think he's even quitting he's quitting doing that, tour in college campuses. He claims it's because Antifa just keeps shutting him down, but I think it's because no one's coming to his rallies anymore. And he has to pay the bill in order to get that speaking job. And if he's not getting reimbursed enough, then of course he's losing money. So that's why he's quitting. So I think that's another sign that the alt-right's in decline.
Yeah, I agree. It's Richard Spencer. I think. I don't know. Do you think that he honestly believes in this alt-right stuff?
I don't know. I mean, people have thrown the accusation of being controlled opposition. And I do find that when Twitter did their little Twitter ban, they didn't take him down. So, and I'm like, okay, why wouldn't you take the leading guy of the alt-right down when you're doing an alt-right purge? And then it kind of hit me, because the Tree of Logic got banned from Twitter. And David Duke, who she was insulting and actually made like a derogatory photo of her, which could violate terms of service of Twitter, didn't get banned. So that's kind of what's making me think that maybe Richard Spencer and David Duke, they're not controlled opposition, but I think they're tolerated opposition, because they're the people the mainstream media goes to. They're the people that mainstream media says, ooh, what do you think about this? Like when something racially charged happens and they give their opinion and it turns out to make the alt-right look worse, then that's kind of why the media would want to prop them up and keep them around, because they want to keep finding that resident Nazi to go to whenever something racially charged happens, so they can demonize the other side.
I guess. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I mean, I know Richard Spencer does believe in socialism, which, you know, when you believe in the Jewish question, you're white, pro-white, and you're a socialist. Yeah, it's very hard to not be called a Nazi.
Yep.
Mm.
It's that's kind of the thing with people like Richard Spencer, is that I probably can't really make a video on Richard Spencer, not because there's nothing to make a video on, but because he is so vanilla, right, that
Yeah.
anything that I could say about any of these other kind of like widows in the alt-right, I could make a better case for those weirdos than with Richard Spencer. You know, I would basically be repeating myself, and like it would be a more tame version of like any of the others. I think like people that are like the real like super like approved degenerates like Ryan Fuck are a lot more interesting. You know, so maybe that's the case. Maybe people like Twitter feel the same way about me like than I do about Richard Spencer. Just on how irrelevant he is.
Yeah, I mean, even if he would have lost the debate against Sargon, they probably would have, the alt-right would have just disowned him as controlled opposition. I mean, they have, I don't think they even have any real loyalty to him.
Yep. Which is why he can never be the Führer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the moment that that came out that he wanted to make the EU more like a white nationalist EU, I think that pissed off all the nationalist people in Europe. So I think, yeah, the alt-right just doesn't want to stay glued to Spencer.
Yeah.
Mm.
They're all like distancing himself not only from the alt-right as a whole, but from Richard Spencer, which I think it's great.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, they start. I think a label that I'm hearing lately that the alt-right start to use is a traditionalist, and
Yeah.
I think that is where they're going to they're going to gravitate to this whole traditionalist label, and so they can make themselves more presentable, and even maybe like have a little bit of a rapprochement with the new right, like the Paul Joseph Watsons, the Mike Cernoviches, that crowd. Because, you know, it makes a more presentable label.
Yeah. I recently learned that this is not the first time that Baked Alaska has had to beg to be like returned to a community, because apparently he used to be like really good friends with Milo Yiannopoulos, but then, you know, after he kind of revealed his power level, they kind of had a falling out, and they stopped with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Milo was considered a new right, and he went in the alt-right direction. Even him and Mike Cernovich had that dispute, you know, before the deplorable. That's kind of what created the first fissure in the alt-right.
Yep.
Yeah, so and that's what I think, and I'm thinking the election of Donald Trump has done more to destroy the alt-right than I think anything else. First it exposed them, and now they're completely like blowing it. They're completely blowing their well, kind of lost the word for it, but you get what I mean. They're completely not taking advantage of it. They can't, because it's their policies are so horrible.
Yeah.
So
It's just a matter of time, I think, till they implode, and that will be a great day.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy. I feel like a lot of people have had their, I mean, the collateral damage that these people have caused is insurmountable. I would say that, you know, they left their mark upon at least one generation. So, you know, the idea of like eradicating their type of racism anytime soon is just out of the way. But
Yeah.
you know, you gotta take your victories. And I'm sure someone like say Kraut and T would probably say something different, that they're probably you know, that they've damaged the entire makeup of the West completely. But it's in a sense, I think, as being one of their biggest victims, I think he has a right to say that.
Yeah, but I think if only Kraut and T had waited. I mean, just waited until like now to. I think he would still be around. He'd still be making videos. I mean, I can't help but admit it, but I do miss his videos. Him making videos. He was a great YouTuber,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's kind of sad that he's gone.
Yeah, I love his videos. I spoke with him like a couple of times, and you know, it's one of those things that it's like I I think he's probably it's almost a shame because he's one of the most like duty bound people on YouTube. He has this very strong sense of duty that you don't see in a lot of YouTubers, and it's a real shame that they went to target against him because he took it like he took it too hard. A lot of the stuff that was being said against them, and he
Yeah.
actually like you know tried to figure out, and he was desperate in trying to figure out like what doxing was being conducted in his server, and that's why he was so hesitant because he didn't know if there was actually doxing on his server or not, and to find out that there wasn't any doxing in the end, just it's honestly tragic, and that's why I've been so adamant about defending him. You know, yeah, I do like his videos, but I think like most important now, I think it's he's been the victim of a real smear campaign and a real tragedy, and that to me is something that I don't think anyone should ever have to face.
Yeah, but what? Because I mean, I watched Medicur's video on it, and there was audio of him saying that he did gather the info on Coach Red Pill, and and he said that Sargon knows he gathered it. That's kind of
Well,
where. So I mean, I have heard both sides of the argument, but the audio of Kraut saying that yeah, I gathered the information on Coach Red Pill, and Sargon knows I gathered it. I think to me that kind of sealed his fate. I mean, I hope that does come back. He comes back and makes an apology and says, "Look, just I'm like he just says he's sorry for everything he's done and everything that was done on his server." And I just hope he comes back. I mean, I personally would like to talk to him.
well, the thing is about the Coach Red Pill stuff is that Coach Red Pill actually has his name, his full name on a YouTube channel. You know, I've talked to Coach Red Pill about this, and apparently there was someone who was, according to him, there was someone who was trying to frame them back in 2016 before any of this ever happened. But his full name and full address are in this channel.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I
and
heard about I heard about his address being put on his Patreon or whatever, and
but even his full name, it literally says it in the in the thingy. So that's what Kraut was referring to, and I don't think that that's really a dox. If you put your name, or if you find your name in your in a page like openly tied to your online persona, then it's not really doxing. It's more like Googling.
But yeah, but here's the there's like two types of doxing that I see. There's one where you're actually gathering the data, you're actually trying to release personal information. You got information that's because everybody puts their personal information on the internet when they get credit cards, when they get everything and all that. But there's gathering that data and just posting it, and there's like if they accidentally post something, like if a person accidentally posts their data or their name and you see it, I think you are obligated as a YouTuber to say get the person in a DM and say, hey, look, your name is up over here. suggest you take care of that. But
yeah, but although to be very clear, and I would have condemned Crowd about it, but I saw the logs, and specifically, Crowd never intended to publish any of this information on Coach Red Pill. It was actually a leak within Crowd's own server that gave it to, for some reason, to Kiwi Farms. There's some stuff there that I've actually, because I didn't trust Crowd when he like approached me with this, because I heard the stories, and we actually went down on a very long call of me like asking all these allegations, and so I'm not entirely certain what I can't and can't really divulge, but it was never the intent of for that information to be published in a forum. It was supposed to go to a specific person who was making a video on the matter, and I just nothing else that I would feel comfortable saying it.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, but one thing that one of the allegations though was that Kraut handed it to Guardian, then Guardian handed it to King of Pole, who put it on. It was King of Pole.
Yeah. Okay. So if the Guardian stuff is out, yeah, Guardian was the leak, but and I saw and I have a lot of people, and I have no reason to doubt it, but Kraut never intended it. He gave it to the Guardian, but the Guardian was supposed to give it to someone else, and the Guardian gave it instead to King of Pole and Kiwi Farms. That's
but and that then there's the thing that, but when Kraut made his apology video, I mean, he kind of said that it was Zeph that was doing all of it, and then of course Zeph recorded it and then put up that audio of Kraut saying that he gathered the data on Coach Red Pill, and Sargon knows that it was. So I mean, look, I'm not gonna throw accusations, but I mean, I've seen both sides of the argument. I've seen both sides of the evidence, and I do think that Kraut was more involved than he should have been.
I mean, at the very least, there was a story there with Coach Red Pill. I think we can all agree to that. I think that if the allegations, and I'm not entirely certain if the allegations are true or not, but if the allegations of this business partner of Coach Red Pill are true, then there's a newsworthy story there. Just under the presumption that those allegations are true.
Yeah.
So I think that he should have handed it to a journalist and not this particular YouTuber. But
well, I think they should have called the police, but if the guy who's accusing Coach Red Pill of stealing his website didn't call the police, I don't understand. Then there is no crime, because technically, if the victim doesn't call the police, then that's indicating that it's sort of by the victim's consent. If they don't call the police, I know there's sketchy territory legally. I understand, because there's duress and all of this, but I do think the guy that was accusing Coach Red Pill of doing this should have at least notified the police that this happened.
Yeah, but I believe that he was, and he thought that Coach Red Pill was not in the country, was actually like overseas and out of his local jurisdiction, is what I have been told.
All right. Yeah. But again, like I said, I think I wouldn't mind if Kraut came back, but I do think he needs to address like the entirety of the allegations. And I think if he does need to tell the full truth of what happened. And, I think eventually bygones will be bygones, because I looked in that stream, that there was a stream that Kraut came back on, and Sinatra Says was in the chat, and he says Kraut never doxed him, and Aiden Paladin says Kraut never doxed her. So it seems like the only person that was like doxed was Coach Red Pill.
Yeah.
So I think there is some false allegations on both sides. That's judging by what I can see as an independent observer.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that one. I think that and you know what makes this a real shame is that, you know, a lot of people are going to believe that Sinatra and Aiden were doxed by Kraut, and they basically said that, and they just dogpile on there. That's why I think that that makes them both look really scummy. They may have an excuse. I think Sinatra has an excuse, but it's sketchy, and it.
Yeah, but they put it out publicly. I mean, Sinatra says put it out in a chat, and Aiden Paladin, I think, put it on Twitter that he never said Kraut. They never said Kraut doxed them. So
exactly, and it's one of those things when, like, saying this ex post facto when the damage has been done is like almost like what am I supposed to do with this? You know, after you know the whole entire internet believes that Sinatra and Aiden were doxed by Kraut. You know, after they were both doxed by Destiny, apparently it's like how useful that is. So in a sense, I think, you know, I wouldn't be. I'm not really going to bat for him, but I wouldn't be even like mentioning this case if I wasn't so convinced that, you know, out of all the people that Kraut has been quote unquote accused of doxing, the only person that has a minimal, you know, claim is Coach Red Pill. And I think that under the circumstances, I think gathering the information wasn't a dox. And I think the publishing of that information was not known to Kraut. It should have. So it's almost like out of the strongest is not very strong.
Yeah.
So
okay, go ahead.
I would say that I mean, if he wants to apologize, I don't think he should. But if he wants to apologize, he should probably apologize to Sargon and V, who I think, morally speaking, have the strongest claim to be wrong by this whole situation. It's they were, you know, being misled by Kraut, and Kraut did it, and he feels bad about it. I think he said that in public, and I think I feel pretty safe saying this in public. And like I said, this whole kind of painting him as this doxer and just seeing as how these people are easy to throw doxing several allegations should be very simple to kind of garner what they want to do. And what they want to do is they just want to use this whole idea of doxing as some sort of like sword against anyone that they don't like.
And like again, I mean, you know, that's like if he was gathering something about someone and he found out their real name, and he should have said, look, that your real name is posted on, like he should have messaged Coach Red Pill saying, look, that your real name is here. You might want to get this taken care of. And I think if he would have done that, I think he would have been free and clear.
It's kind of weird because, you know, I'm gonna actually, I don't know if you can put this up on the webpage, but I'm gonna actually, I have the actual webpage where this whole name was found, and it seemed very deliberate that he actually didn't mind his name being there. I'm gonna find it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the RT videos of him. I've seen. No.
Oh, it's apparently he took it down already. Interesting. So here's the archive. So there, I don't think you should be able to show it because it seems to be his name seems to be very sensitive. But I'm gonna give you.
Well, I mean, we've all seen the Kiwi Farms page thanks to Sargon's video.
Yeah. So here's the link, which and if you go, you can see on the. on the Patreon there, it says the full name and last name of the coach, and within that context, it makes it seem like it wasn't accidental. You know? So you see in the description there, it says a name and then, the name, last name, and then there's a Patreon account which has the name and last name, and that makes it seem like there's very little doubt that that he actually wanted this information hidden. And I guess in actuality he did want this information hidden, but someone just looking through this information wouldn't have come to the reasonable assumption that this was private information if you just came across this name and last name.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I usually take people at their word if they say they don't want their personal information out there. I mean, if they use like an avatar and of course a pseudonym name, I automatically assume that they don't want their name out there.
Of course. Well, but the thing is that it looked like it wasn't by mistake that this name and last name were in there. So I mean, if it was like something like you just stumbled upon it on Google on a Facebook post and it was obvious that it was a mistake, but when you take these deliberate steps to put your name out there, it's not hard to not presume that that they wanted the information private.
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing is, I mean, with Coach Red Pill, I mean, if he does videos for RT, but then he chooses to use his actual face, like under his pseudonym, then I'm just saying it is a little careless on his part. But still, I mean, you gotta presume that he doesn't want his name out there. So when you use a pseudonym, so that's kind of a rule of thumb I use.
Yeah, me too. But I would say that I keep asking myself this question: would I have done it like substantially different? Like, what would I have done different? Like now that I know this information, and like I said, I would have probably not gone to a YouTube video maker. I would have probably gone to an actual journalist, and I would have, asked them to like do their own journalistic diligence on this issue, and allow them to basically like I would clean my hands of this whole matter entirely because it just deals with like personal names. But within that, it's a far, it's not a stone's throw away from just being a doxer. It seems to be more kind of like a mishap in judgment, a misstep in who to trust, and a mishap in which person is it just seems like an unfortunate situation of just a lapse in judgment rather than just what the people on the internet are trying to prescribe to him, which is, a doxing mastermind trying to like take down the outright through malicious means.
Yeah, so but like with the Coach Red Pill situation, like I said, if the victim doesn't call the police, then as far as the people are concerned, there's no crime. But then again, like I said, duress and all of this. So I don't know what kind of like the ethics are involving giving personal information to a journalist. So I mean, I can't comment on it. But I think if he would have stumbled on his name by accident, I probably would have just said, "Hey, DM me, man. You need to see something," and then I point out that your personal information's here. Just so you're aware of it. Just take care of it. I'm out. That's what I would have done. Because like I know I don't want my name out there. I mean, my name's probably out there somewhere on this platform, but I'm going on record right now saying I don't want it out there at this moment.
Yeah, me neither. It's one of those things. Like I've had to go through a lot of trouble in keeping my name private. You know, my last name specifically private, and I wouldn't want it to go that way. So, and I spoken to Coach Reppel after all this fact. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm being very careful to not state out of the way that everything that crowd is accusing Coach Reppel of is true, even though I don't think he did anything wrong accusing Coach Reppel of these things. I think that in a very real sense, Coach Reppel is owed, a presumption of innocence at the very least. And so, but I will say this, that I think that I think within the circumstances there was a real question of ethics, and it wasn't an aberration of ethics for a crowd to do what he did within the context of the situation. And it wouldn't be the exact set of steps that I would have personally taken. Again, and I'm benefiting from the bias of hindsight, but it's also something that I wouldn't see as ethically or morally wrong to do. Just something that I would say as unwise to do.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't even touch that kind of realm. I mean, I'd rather just stick to focusing on the arguments. But I mean, like I would definitely love to have a conversation with Kraut about this. But
sure, I'll let him know that you want to talk to him. He's a friendly guy.
Oh, you do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate this.
Yeah. Also, speaking of, like, if you want to know someone who's a real doxer, is Ian Miles Chung.
Oh yeah, I know those allegations. David Sherratt got made that video.
Yeah, I can. Ian Miles Chung is now trying to say that he fed David Sherratt false information. I can tell you right now that I looked at this info and the information is actually accurate, and he's doxing someone. I'm actually going to probably be dropping a video or even maybe a Twitter just asking Ian Miles Chung to just, if he believes that this information is false, to just release it publicly himself. He has the information on his end. Because I've actually looked into it, and it's actually real, and he wasn't joking. He's trying to play this off as a meme, and I think that that's disgusting that people are trying to treat it that way. And in context of what they accuse Crowd of doing, I think it's utterly disgusting that people are willing to just let this Ian Miles Chung bullshit pass and cried about Crowd running a doxing server that wasn't really a doxing server, and he didn't really dox anyone unjustly or didn't expose anyone really.
Yeah, I mean, and pretty much one of the main reasons that I still kind of holds some sort of it's affection, or at least some sort of I can't say the word respect, but there's some sort of admiration. I mean, there's got to be a better word for it, but there's some because what Kraut was going through, how he despised the alt-right, is exactly how I feel. I mean, I despise the alt-right with a passion. So I guess I can understand where he was coming from, but I still don't think that justifies his actions entirely. So,
I mean, what action specifically are you mentioning? Because, I mean, to be honest, Coach Reppel isn't really alt-right.
Yeah, I know he's not really alt-right, but I mean, the fact that I think he didn't, I don't think he informed Coach Red Pill that he had the doc. that he had personal information. I don't think that if the allegations that Medicare made in his video are accurate, then I would say that giving the, like, you know, I can't really say, you know, here, like what I'm saying is, like, if Kraut gave the information to Guardian and Guardian gave it to King of Pole to put up on Kiwi Farms or something. Now you've said that Guardian was supposed to give it to someone else. So I mean, I have no information to.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to go and
this. I'm just trying to be as an impartial observer. So I don't want to. Yeah, I hope you understand.
No. I definitely understand, and it's the same kind of situation that I was in.
Yeah.
I was actually very antagonistic of Kraut till he actually like invited me to have a conversation with him. I'm much more unfair to him than you are right now. And he cleared out, and he showed me the evidence that the other side had, and I actually felt, you know, very, very kind of dumb for me not doubting a Medicare video. You know, kind of the reason why I hope Medicare in such contempt right now is because, you know, he did manage to fill me for a while, that, you know, and into painting this very complete picture that I, you know, in retrospect was very incomplete. Like, there's a lot of things that he delved into, like the personal life of Kraut that I personally kind of like just ate it up. And so, yeah, why don't we do this? I'm gonna go ahead. I don't talk to Kraut that often, but I'll go ahead and send him a message and say that, you know, he wants to be interviewed by you, and you know that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, I'll try to be as I can be as impartial as I can, but I mean, I will bring up Medicare's allegations, and we'll try to see if we can get to some sort of truth here, because, you know, I mean, it's like you said, the other side has thrown false accusations, including the doxing of Aiden Paladin and or Sinatra Says, which turns out, by their own admission, weren't true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will definitely be glad to talk to Kraut, and I promise to be as gentlemanly as possible.
It's one of those things. I wish I had recorded me go like accusing Kraut of that stuff, because first of all, it would have dispelled any notion that I'm some sort of Krautist right off the bat. But second of all, it would have probably, you know, cleared his name, even though I did it in private, because I felt at the time that you know, that Kraut was hiding something. I didn't want to, you know, make it into a witch hunt. You know, I didn't want to get into a fight with like people who like Kraut at the same time that I was getting into a fight with people who like the alt-right, the alt-righters. But also, because now that I've kind of like seen the evidence, I can't be an impartial observer. So I think that actually would be a very good idea, and I'll float it by him that you want to talk to him, and actually that we can get some subscribers your way, because you seem to be have a good head on your shoulders, and I think that you would do a much better job at being the prosecutor that I ever could have.
Yeah, so just tell Kraut he can follow me. Just give him my Twitter information, give him my Twitter link, and he can DM me, and we can talk and just schedule an interview. Yeah,
that would be really cool.
All right. Well, all right. And I guess we're gonna end this here. I'm Prometheus the Prophet, and this is The Wrong Bishop. I thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to have this very wholesome conversation.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for our show. Again, I'm Prometheus the Prophet, signing off.